Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Feliz Martes. Feliz Terça-feira. All right. Today was squat day. Bunch of triples today, plus an added special guest star. I'll talk about that in a minute. So first thing I want to talk about, deloads. I talked about that, I don't know, a week or so ago. Mentioned Andy Baker kind of talks about deloading and strategies and stuff like that. So I kind of did that for myself, but so a couple weeks ago, right, my triples were 245 today or 225. So not a big difference, right? That's roughly 5%, 10%, yeah, 10% difference. So not huge, but it was enough to gain a lot of bar velocity back, and got through 7 sets without much of a hitch. I might have missed one on recording, but I think I just had weird angles or didn't have the zoom set right, whatever. Doesn't matter. But 7 sets, 225 triples in each set. And those went pretty well. Actually went really well. Bar speed was good and fast. And it's because last week and this week, I've knocked off a little bit of weight. Not a lot, a little bit, roughly 10%. And that's been enough to kind of mitigate some of that residual fatigue that just won't go away. And then I'll slowly increment back up, and then I'll have to do again. But a lot of people do like these massive resets, like, you know, let's say they're squatting on, let's say 315 for, you know, sets of 5. And they're like, oh, I need to do a reset, right? And then they drop to like 225 or 185 or something crazy. And it doesn't work well. Yeah, you got to get rid of some residual inflammation, which is my case, and let the muscles kind of catch up. But you don't need a massive drop. It just needs to be just a little bit of back pedal, and you'll be fine. So yeah, 7 triples at 225. Those went really well. Again, good bar speed on those. Getting out of the hole really fast. Stuff that I like to see. So much so that I decided to revisit an old friend and, you know, challenge myself, which is I did some front squats, right? So I just warmed up with the bar for a couple sets. And then I was planning on doing 3 sets of 5, right? And that was it. One set, I set my stance too narrow. And again, that whole idea of the interface of the kinetic chain and either the bar or the ground, super important, right? So I was like, let me try and narrow my stance up a little bit so it's kind of like where the box squat was at. Did that on one set, and my right heel was lifting because I've got less dorsiflexion in my right foot. And I ended up dumping on like the 5th rep. So it's kind of like a set there. Well, not immediately, I'm leaving the whole thing on video, but kind of walked off, came back, kind of hang clean the bar back up onto the hooks, and then did a set of 5 with the stance I'd been using before. That was easy. And then did one more set because I forgot to videotape a set. So it's like I did set 1, okay. Set 2 was that goofiness. So it's like kind of like 2 sets there, set 2 and set 3. And I was gonna do my 3rd set, and I was gonna get on tape and end it. And didn't record, didn't push the button. And then, so did one more set. So kind of like a 5x5. I'm gonna call that because I did the hang clean, put some effort in, whatever. I'm gonna count it. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But while I was racking the barbell, right? And so I used the straps. So I can either do the, you know, genie, you know, sesame open kind of deal. Or I can rig up, I've got some old spud straps that I know how to like kind of wrap around and get the, get a grip on the bar that way and kind of get up on my delts. But it's been such a long time that my physicality is significantly different. So racking the barbell was way different than I'm used to, and my neck is way closer to the knurling. So I kind of abraded myself a little bit right there. So it kind of looks like a hickey. So I'm wondering if I'm going to go to work tomorrow and people are like, oh man, what was he doing? He got a hickey on his neck. Which brings me to a really funny story I'm going to close this video out with. And maybe there's some analogy in life to it. I think there is. Man, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was just this little nerdy tuba player. And, come from whatever high school. And here I am at college, right on my music scholarship. I'm going to be the next best thing on tuba. And, I'm practicing, I'm spending my time in the woodshed, so it were, and, getting my face good and stuff. But anyhow, right, I'm like 19 and, I'm in the orchestra and, maybe 20, whatever the age was, doesn't matter, it was dumb. And, I'm in the orchestra and I'm noticing that the fiddle players, the violin players, right, they've all got these spots on their neck, right? And, like two in particular, and it took me a while for this to set in. And like the 2 or 3 in particular, like they're the really good ones. Like the girls are like first desk, first violin, first desk, second violin kind of stuff, right? So like the really good ones, like they had these hickeys on their neck, and I was like, oh man, these girls are promiscuous. They're wild. And then I got to know them, right? Like one of them maybe was a case, but then another one couldn't really say it, and another one like, no, there's no way that this girl's getting hickeys all the time. And then it's always in the same spot, right? Again, like I'm 19 or 20, I'm dumb. And it dawned upon me quite a while later, years later. Maybe not, I think I was still in college, but I was in college for 5 years the first time around. Dawned on me, oh man, that's just from them practicing. It's that fiddle rubbing up on her neck. Because I finally figured out, I think I had to take like a string techniques class. And so when you get the violin as like a beginner, you get like this kind of chin, neck kind of rest, right, that you kind of lean on to. And then usually most people like pat it, they put like a sponge or something on it to soften it up some more, right? So kids can practice and it doesn't hurt and blah, blah, blah. But acoustically, that's an additional bit of mass and a harmonic dampener, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of these students, when they go from like high school and into college, the professors will be like, all right, you got to pitch that thing and learn how to play without that. And then sometimes even without the rest at all, right? So it's just the body of the violin. And so they got to hold that thing with something, right? So, you can contort it up here, but, this thing's going to sit here, but you got to hold it, right, with something. So they ended up getting these little spots right on the neck. It would braid from them, sitting there practicing, especially, like the lacquer starts to wear, and then, the grain of the wood and blah, blah, blah. So, these girls had these little marks on them for a long period of time, longer than it should have been. I was like, wow, man, these girls have got hickeys and they're promiscuous. And I was completely wrong for the most part. And so anyhow, yeah, I scratched my neck, or braided my neck some with the knurl of the barbell. Yeah, maybe someone will be mistaken, like, oh man, that old dude is getting around, he's got a hickey on his neck. But anyhow, good session. Deload is kind of working. In full transparency too, I've got some hardcore old school NSAIDs. This one called indomethacin, which is nasty in terms of like what it does to your gut. And it also like makes you retain weight and stuff. But like one of those knocks a lot of like nasty inflammation out right quick. That's the one that they gave me for gout. And years ago, when I had a gout flare up and my shoulders were really killing me, I took this thing for a gout flare up and my shoulders felt way better. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. My shoulders don't hurt nearly as much as they used to. So then I started taking indomethacin kind of on the regular, as opposed to something like ibuprofen. And that was not good for my gut health. So lesson learned there. Learn vicariously from those who make those mistakes so you don't have to make them for yourself. But Yeah, I didn't know better. I didn't know anyone as a point of reference. So kind of learned that one on my own, to the point where now I really avoid insects as much as possible. But knowing what I went through last night, which was I was up till like 11 shoveling stuff out because I got guys coming in to do some painting and stuff. We've had a ton of snow. I'm tired of it. And I just want to make sure that, you know, they had a place to park. Like the street need to be widened. Some of it I can do with a snow thrower, some of it I can do with a hand shovel, right? So I'm doing a lot of hand shoveling. This is like detail work. Some out there like, you know, tidying up these spots. And you got to strategically place the snow because the snow banks are getting to the point where it's, you know, 4 to 5 feet high that I got to dump the snow. And, you know, I'm just complaining now. But, yeah, good session. Pretty happy with it. Kind of know what's going on, kind of how I balanced out the load, cleared out some residual fatigue, and in the end, the 7 triples I did 225 really quick. And I had enough reserve in the tank to do these front squats that braided my neck with not much of a problem. And then the front squats reminded me of a silly time in my youth when I was very, very dumb. So, happy Tuesday. Feliz Martes. Feliz terça-feira. Hope everyone's having a great day. I hope you have a great week ahead. Espero que você tenha ótimo semana. Siga em frente. All right. Till next time, which is tomorrow, because tomorrow's the bench day. Till next time, don't forget, get into those gyms, hit those goals, and get swole. Peace. 7, 7, 7.